The following is a fan-based discussion. All properties discussed are property of Toei Inc., Bandai, Hasbro, and Tsuburaya Productions.
Welcome back to another installation of Time and Time Again.
Yes, we are now.
You can almost say we're doing this time and time again.
This is the accuracy of that statement because it's true and factual.
All right, so this time we are comparing the Sentais that took on the ninja aesthetic.
Yes.
This should be fun.
You look, you're in pain already.
Let's just get started, why don't we?
Let's just say I put him in a good mood with what we were doing before the video started recording.
Good mood.
A good mood for ranting.
Oh, yeah.
So
I don't think it was your fault.
No, it was a joke. We've got Kaku Ranger, Hurricaneger, and Ninja.
Yes.
Okay,
One of these three
does not belong here. One of these things is not like the others.
One of these things
is trash.
Skews the curve. All right.
So, let's talk about what ninjas are. Masters of stealth. Masters of martial arts. Quiet.
That's none of these.
Well, Kaku Ranger.
Sort of.
Out of the three.
I think once you pull out giant robot, you kind of rule out stealth.
Yeah, but that's not their fault. They have to adhere to the formula.
I don't care.
To be fair, at least theirs is hidden. It's a house.
Well, so is the Hurricanegers.
Well, yeah.
To be fair, all of them were hidden. They just immediately... Yes, and then immediately it's like, well, I'm a giant robot.
Kaku Ranger.
The Kaku Ranger.
The first
one.
The first ninja. The first one that we got a female leader.
True,
but that has nothing to do with the
White.
fact that they're ninjas.
Yeah, this is one of those, this is something that both the Ninja and this one share. They have a White Ranger, which is very interesting. Kaku Ranger...
Nothing to do with the fact that they're ninjas. Let's talk about how they are ninjas. This is the most traditional aesthetic in terms of their costumes we'll get in terms of what a ninja looks like.
it's probably the most basic of all Super Sentai costumes.
And it's still one
but
of
it
my
works.
favorites.
No, it works because it's ninjas. Ninjas were about the minimalistic style.
Simplicity.
Mm-hmm.
But they had swords on their backs too, right?
Yes.
They did.
Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to remember.
They have a lot of things that when you think of ninjas, this is what you think of, even with the sound effects. But for the first part, this is...
When you think of ninjas more in an old school context, I would say.
Yeah. This show
because when you think of the opening theme song and it's them like silhouetted against the moon doing the thing with the swords on their backs, that's very like...
Ninja.
When did this come out?
94?
94. So you think about like all the ninja and martial arts movies that have been made in the 80s and the early 90s.
I can't wait for one of those to fall.
This speaks much more to that than much more to the later ones.
And it's also extremely Japanese.
It is very Japanese.
Oh yeah, very, very much Japanese culture.
Especially for the first part with the narrator being there.
Mm-hmm.
This is much more entranced in, Japanese mythology with the various yokai that they end up having to fight. It's very Japanese in the way that they end up approaching this show.
Which is not necessarily a bad thing. And it definitely does drive the ninja aesthetic because that is the birthplace of the ninja.
This one... Ninja, but he's next. This one just feels very authentic in
I'll give
its
you
own
that.
way.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of executing this particular motif, I think Kaku Ranger did it the best out of the three.
Even with Ninja Man.
Even with Ninja Man.
Becoming Samurai Man.
Yeah, well, you did, yeah. But because they also had to, take that sacrifice of what is typically a Sentai, I guess, in terms of the bright aesthetic on the suits and the more, I want to say childlike, but more child-centered demographic.
I will say, with all three, that none of them really do well in telling a fully cohesive story. They are very Monster of the Week heavy with all three. Even though Kaku Ranger sort of fixes that a little bit at the end with Tsuruhime's father being a major thing, none of them really do, this is our actual plot. It's just much more generic, stop the demon. Mm-hmm. Even with Ninja being like, we have to become... And the last ninja thing.
Which, as long as you're having a good time with it, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Also, none of them took really to mind in terms of the story of how ninjas were created. where the birth of the ninja was farmers using their tools to combat against the samurai oppressors, and no one really wanted to take that as an idea. Kind of, sort of with the ninja, you can definitely see the aesthetic of that with their monsters. They're very samurai focused and how the monsters look, but no one really took that home, that ninjas are not always trained martial artists. They were farmers. They use the fucking sickle that is like with chain.
Like that is sarigama.
The sarigama is based off a farming tool.
Mm-hmm.
The samurai were tricksters. They put powder in eggs, squash and throw into samurai's eyes.
Ninjas were tricksters.
Yeah, they were dirty fighters.
Mm-hmm.
They had shorter katanas in normal-sized katana sheaths on their backs to make samurais think that it was going to take longer for them to draw their sword and then dead.
Mm-hmm.
They were assholes. They were the first trolls. But no one really took that because they're supposed to be the hero of the story.
I mean, of course.
And then the ninjas said, let's be the ninjas that never hide, and let's just take ninjas and make them shameful.
Well, getting back to your point about the history of ninjas and how they actually came to be, yeah, they were the scrappy underdogs.
Yeah, they really were.
And over the
guerrilla warfare.
Over the course of history, ninjas are one of those groups of people that have become romanticized.
Yep.
All out of proportion. You look at Naruto, you look at Ninja Gaiden, you look at the later Sentai, you look at various video games and movies, and you look at how it's truly become magic. The way that they were able to perform certain things.
Because from the perspective of the samurai, where they had no idea where they come from, where they went, it seemed out of this world.
Which is why you end up having things like Sasuke using the duplication technique in the show proper.
And you substitutions and all that crap. Because
that or you look at something like Basilisk, where people have the ability to come back from the dead or
walk on water.
Everyone has these crazy, fantastic abilities.
Dive underground, which is both Ninja Black and Hurricane Yellow's thing. I love the fact that we do end up getting just so much.
Or the ability to make your face look like someone else's.
Mm-hmm. I love the fact that we just end up getting so much, just especially in Kakuranger and even in Hurricane as well, although they went a little bit more fantastical with the things that they could do, making giant ears and such. It was just
they tried to make it fun.
This is something that more so that they had to really learn.
Yeah, that was much more apparent.
Especially
and the Ninja tried to do that and failed miserably, but the Ninja failed miserably at a lot of things.
Kakuranger, I felt like let's do as much as we can with this ninja thing.
It is the most accurate out of the three in terms of depicting what is ninja.
Even in their mechs, it's just we can use our own separate
I'm only comparing them to the three.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying to me that doesn't matter.
Well, the point of the show is to see who executed the theme of ninja the best.
Oh, fair enough. But
even their mechs though. But the Kakuranger one is just
their first mech. Their first one specifically. The second mech was much more Sentai.
Animal-based.
Yeah, was much more Sentai. Fuck it.
Yeah. But it's just with the first one, our mech is a house. It's our house. It's our kingdom. That's what their mech is. It's shown that in the first 2 episodes. I love the fact that they really just built on it. This is Japan. This is what we have as our mythology. And it's so interesting to be introduced to it, especially in something like this, where even going into this, I didn't really know much about it. And then, things like Yokai Watch exist. Yeah. Where they do extrapolate more on things like that as well. It's good to have. I love Japanese mythology. I think it's so interesting.
It is.
It's just fun to watch and fun to learn about. Hurricaneger, though.
Moving on.
Hurricaneger was still trying to do the ideas of Kakuranger. They are ninjas. They are learning the art. But you can definitely see that they are trying. It is much more of a balance between what is conceived as ninja and what is conceived as Sentai.
I have a quick question. What year did Hurricaneger come out?
94.
No,
Hurricaneger. 2002.
2002. What year did the Naruto manga come out?
Ooh.
I don't know.
I will Google that real quick.
Thank you. Because to me, Hurricaneger, depending on whether it came before or after, I feel like it was around the same time.
Probably.
Because I think the anime came out in 2003, maybe.
Naruto was published in magazine Weekly Shonen Jump from September 21st, 1999.
1999, so not too long after that.
Until 2014.
So not too long after that. This is in that era where...
ninjas were becoming fantastical.
No, they already were.
Fair.
But this, I would say, is like building off on the success of Naruto. Where you look at Naruto, he's the underdog in the village. He's the one no one expects is going to be any good at anything. You look at the Hurricanegers, and it's basically the same thing, at least in my opinion, because they're the lowest ranked at their school.
They were left behind.
Yeah, they were left behind because they were, off doing whatever.
What year did this come out?
It's 2002.
The Naruto anime released in October of 2002, so late 2002. So
it was around the same time.
He is right on the money.
So this to me feels like it's because Naruto, one of the most popular anime manga franchises ever. This really feels like it's capitalizing on the popularity of that.
I can see that.
In terms of the ninjas and their abilities and the fact that we're starting with underdogs who are building themselves up.
I can definitely see that. But you also...
Do you disagree, Marcus?
Yeah. And I end up saying that I disagree is because Naruto didn't really become popular until after the anime came out. Which didn't happen until late.
It had to be popular enough to get an anime.
I don't know. Some things exist that shouldn't have.
He's kind of right.
It
seems like they throw darts at a board on what gets in an adaptation sometimes.
Well, if it's in Shonen Jump, it's typically... The only way you stay in Shonen Jump is if you're popular.
I believe Shonen Jump is like I think it's in the top 5 or 10 highest grossing media franchises ever.
Yeah.
Most of that's just from magazine sales, so a lot of people buy Shonen Jump.
For people who may not know, if you read, I think it was called Bakuman. It was a manga anime about people who wrote manga. You actually learn a lot about the manga industry. Mm-hmm. Like, there is a poll, and if you are not popular enough, your manga is no longer published.
But...
So... back to the point, but I see where he's coming from, where they're trying to build off the popularity of ninjas. But to kind of counteract that point of the underdog stories we just discussed, ninjas were the underdogs already. Mm-hmm. So it's less of building off of that story.
This is more on a character level I'm talking about.
That's fair.
Not so much them as a whole, but these three in particular.
One thing we didn't really talk about when it came to Kakuranger, we should really talk about it here because it's much more centralized. The villains. Even within their own shows, it's just like the Kakurangers did more with how the ninja aspect really just goes across the board, even with the yokai taking place of like regular people. Mm-hmm. The cab driver and such that we saw Jiraiya first interact with at the beginning of it. And then we end up getting the Hurricaneger. It's much more standard Sentai fare.
It is.
Send down a monster.
Hurricaneger, absolutely. That's why I said it was more of a balancing act of what is ninja versus what is Sentai. Whereas Kakuranger was much more towards the let's be Japanese and ninja and all of that. And then we'll get to Ninja, which is this much Sentai, this much ninja. And the only thing that's accurate about their depiction of ninjas is that samurai were the bad guys.
What was the point you were about to make?
Was I about to make a point?
You sounded like you're about to say something and I cut you off, which I apologize.
If I was, I forgot.
Hurricane, like
you're right, villains.
Oh,
the villains in Hurricaneger are awful.
Well, yeah.
I think this is just me. I think they're awful. The two female villains have some of the worst acting I've ever seen in my life.
I think they were both AV actresses beforehand. It shows because they're definitely not Mashina.
Moving on.
That's no excuse. They're bad. And it is, getting back to what you were saying, it is much more standard Sentai fare. Mm-hmm. And I think that both works and is also a detriment at the same time.
No, I absolutely agree.
I think that there's nothing wrong with generic. We get genre from generic. Nothing wrong with something that's generic as long as you're enjoying it.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
And like we said before in our actual review of this, we enjoy these characters, the actual Rangers
of Hurricaneger. Yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
But it's just like within the actual ninja theming of this show proper, it definitely feels like you said, this is a middle ground. Especially coming off for Gao Ranger.
Oh yeah, but compared to Kaku Ranger, this is a middle ground of what is ninja versus what is Sentai.
Yeah.
And then
we do see a little of the Japanese influence though with the kabuki.
Yeah.
Yes, which is amazing.
It's nice to see that represented.
It is. It's not ninja, but it's nice to see.
But it is very Japanese.
It is very Japanese.
That's a very culturally oriented thing, and I'm really happy that they brought that aesthetic into the show.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't just a punchline, like it is with other characters. Like when you have like Deno, a Sanjo. He's like, what is Sanjo? You can kind of see
it's taken from that. Obviously.
Yeah, I know, but you can see that it's much more traditional and it's much more in Deno. It's a punchline. In Hurricaneger, it's funny, but you can see the respect they have for the art.
It's very theatrical.
It is extremely theatrical because the lighting and
the umbrellas,
the claps, the umbrellas. There's like flower petals, I believe, or sashes that are being
pretty
thrown.
much all of these originated from kabuki theater.
Yeah,
in its own way. And
I mean, you look at what was it, Goemon.
Oh yeah.
Goemon, the historical figure, was a kabuki actor, I believe.
Yeah, and a ninja.
And a ninja. He's one of the most famous ninjas.
There you go.
Hurricaneger.
Thanks, Ghost.
Literally,
I was gonna say thanks, Persona 5.
Also that.
I didn't play Persona 5.
Also that.
One of the
intention to either.
One of the main characters, his persona is Goemon.
Cool. Anyway,
really cool too.
I can't wait until the riddle.
But now let's talk about the kid at the short table.
This is the red-headed stepchild that should have been beaten.
I take offense to that.
I will never advocate.
You're not a stepchild.
I will never.
Redheaded.
I will never advocate for the
abuse of
children. However, I will advocate the defamation of terrible shows. So let's move on.
So as I said, Kaku Ranger was a majority of what is a traditional ninja versus just a bit of Sentai thrown in whereas Hurricaneger is a middle ground. This is the opposite. This is a bad Sentai through and through, and with some ninja sprinkles tossed on top.
I want to bring up a point you made earlier. The fact that the villains have a samurai aesthetic.
Okay.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it was a bad thing.
That's something I honestly never really thought about, but when you brought it up just now, it's like, okay, yeah, in a historical context, in a Japanese setting, I can see why you went with that. If we could go to their page.
Unfortunately.
And we look, I mean, you just look at the suits. Think about Kaku Ranger, getting back to your point of how simplistic and minimalistic because they're ninjas. There's nothing on there to slow them down. They just have their swords.
Even in Hurricaneger.
In Hurricaneger, it's a little bit more stylized.
It's still minimalistic to a degree, but it is a combination, I think, of fashion and function.
Because
the helmet's open, which is cool. I love
the Hurricaneger costumes are some of the best.
But you can definitely still see the ninja in that style. This one, it looks like Kyoryuji just got a different paint job.
It looks like a video game.
Going back just a quick second, we never really talked about Shurikenger. Like you said earlier, the
ninja of the ninjas
being somebody else, like somebody else's face. That was him.
That is him.
That was also a weird thing that he was on their side, and he was more of a samurai look than a ninja.
Which is why.
Ninja
Storm.
Which is, but
it's just like he lost his identity.
Mm-hmm.
He lost himself, so he always ended up having to be someone else. He is always in the trickster element, being the ninja of the ninja.
But
and it worked.
But then we get back to the ninja.
You said it earlier, Kyoryuger. It feels like they said, "Hey, that made a lot of money. Let's do it with ninjas. Let's do it with ninjas.
Let's do it in nin."
But
the costumes feel over-designed.
They are.
It feels like there's
that a lot.
It feels like there's a little too much going on.
You can see that, and I'm going to put up the picture of the poster.
Mm-hmm.
The sash kills it.
It's not even that. I'm looking at the poster itself, like just taking it all aesthetically. The sparkles. The loudness.
It's in the marketing. Instead of hiding, they rampage. Because
they are the ninjas that don't hide.
It feels like Kyoryuger. It's like we're ninjas, but we're not gonna hide. We're gonna jump out of the bushes and go boogity boogity boogie. And that's pretty much what happens.
It's terrible acting. Yeah. They don't even like if they took the sash off, I wouldn't mind the suits as much. They're bright and obnoxious, but that's still Sentai.
Actually, I think the sash is fine. Again, like I'm going to end up saying when
well,
we get to
I think
this review.
I think it's what really kind of the over designing is.
It's not even that. Once we end up getting the review, I'm going to end up saying this as well. The fact that there is white on these suits.
Because it's the gloves. No, not the gloves. It's just the boots, right?
It's the boots.
Yeah, just the boots.
They're all about not hiding. I get that, but that just seems way too on the nose, and it just makes the suit. If they didn't have those boots, I feel like, except for Shiro Ninja, of course, if they didn't have,
yeah,
those
it
boots,
works with her.
I feel like it would have been a lot more aesthetically pleasing, and it wouldn't have made the suit seem loud. The boots take it.
And I don't mind the fact that they're going off of.
Again, that's what they were going for, but it doesn't mean we have to like it.
I didn't mind the aspect of making shurikens the main focus because shuriken was a tool of the ninja.
Yes.
But make it a tool of the ninja, not the Deus Ex Machina of the week. Also, don't make the Blue Ranger a magician. I don't care if it was real magic. It was a magician. Magic has no place for ninjas. I don't care how cool the fucking Magi Ranger cameo was.
Like, we understand that, like, their powers are supposed to be magical just by observation. But when you end up having just something so blatantly magical from another
Harry fucking Ranger, Potter level of magic,
it doesn't work here. It makes everything else that they do seem cheap because it never really feels like they really have to work for it. Like we saw in Hurricane and in Ninja that they always were training to get new abilities. With this one, it's just it's part of the sword. Go ahead.
Okay.
Jesus. I thought he was
I'm sorry. I didn't know if I was going to be able to work this in because we're trying to focus on aesthetics here for this series.
Well, no, we're talking about just Ninja as
I know. That's why I said this. Okay. You mentioned training.
Ninjas trained their ass off.
Not all of them, but we look at the Kaku Rangers. They had to work to get to where they were. The Hurricanegers, they were the bottom of their class. They had to work to earn their degrees at the end, and that's one of the reasons it was so satisfying. These schmucks, this is probably the worst example of one of my most hated tropes of, we lost, we're better now, we win.
That's how Red beat that one guy at the beginning.
Not just that one guy. This happens in this. I remember
it happens in the show a lot.
It does.
They will fight them up. They fought like one of like the big bad guys.
Got their asses kicked.
They got their asses beat, and then they just show up later in a parking garage somewhere, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna beat you now," and then they transform and they win. No pep talk, no training, no nothing. Nothing. It's nothing. Just you padded the episode.
It's really exactly what it is.
And while ninjas didn't have to train, historically speaking, they still had to be strategic. They knew they couldn't win in skill, so they played guerrilla warfare. Mm-hmm. They fought with dirty tactics. They
had to know which end to stick into the samurai.
Now, I will say this.
As far as the pointy bits.
We do see them like actually trained with those abilities every once in a while.
But it's never the same.
It's never the same. And
it's never the same, and their victories never feel earned.
No.
It's so cheap.
Ninjas win. Bullshit. Anyway.
I hate them.
And...
I really do. Once we get to this show, once we get to this review, it's just a short rant.
The most ninja character at the beginning was the grandfather, then they ruined it.
Yeah, that he left. And then, still, the best character ended up being Pink and Gold. But...
Gold gave no shits. He wasn't a ninja, he was a cowboy.
He was a cowboy. He was very American, because cheeseburgers.
So a counja?
Alright.
So, in terms of the aesthetic of ninjas...
I'm disappointed.
In terms of the aesthetic of ninjas, Kaku Ranger was pretty much almost right on the money. I would have only tweaked a couple things. Hurricaneger was still good because it was still trying to do a balance of ninja and Sentai, and a ninja needs to go outside, think about what it's done, and then go burn it in a trash can.
It just doesn't do it well. And it's like, I see people that...
I hated giving it praise because it did the one thing that none of the other ninjas Sentais did, was the samurais are the bad guys.
Even the stuff that I hate, I feel like if I think I can find at least one good thing about them.
Yeah, I can find one thing I like about it. It ended.
We won't even talk about the mechs because the mechs were dumb.
They were. We will talk about the mechs when we get to this show because we have a while. So... This might be either February or March. It will be right before my birthday. This is a great birthday gift.
Oh, good.
I get to rip apart Ninja for my birthday.
This is your present to everyone else for your birthday.
When is this? I didn't get to say this in our last video. When is it? This is going up on Wednesday?
The Wednesday after.
Oh, fuck. Well, never mind. I was going to say things, bring up the 5,000, but I did that on Twitter already.
Oh, we can say that next video. Thank you for watching the stream.
Indeed.
Yes, we greatly appreciate it.
For those that did.
For those that did, we're recording this a week in advance.
But before we finish up, which of these 3 shows do we think did Ninja best?
Kaku Ranger.
Same.
And out of the 3, Kaku Ranger. But the only thing I would fix about Kaku, like, if I was making the 4th Ninja Sentai, it would be stealth-based. Period. End of story. I don't give a shit if it's not flashy. We're gonna do ninjas. We're gonna do fucking ninjas.
Next time.
There will be some episodes you don't see them.
They're not even there.
They just end up dead. Like the monster's like, haha, why am I dead?
It's like one of the Arkham Asylum Predator missions, but told from one of the goon point of views.
Exactly. What is happening? And then you'll see one black.
You'll hear the general, look down on the ground.
No, this what, and then you'll hear. Then you just like here.
Now we actually had 2 more of these because somebody brought it up.
Oh fuck! Really? What was next?
Martial arts.
Okay.
That's true because we got Die Ranger, Geki Ranger, Mask Man,
and what's the new one?
Animals.
That's
I was
so
right.
many.
We're only going to really limit it to 3 because it's much more of the actual.
So it's going to be Zyuohger, Gal Ranger, Gingaman. Okay, yeah.
That's fair.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you for those suggestions, whoever that was.
Maybe add a 4th if we can find one that is really animal focused, as opposed to just a mascot like Live Man.
I'm about to say Live Man. That was really the only one
I was guessing though.
No, but it's a good guess. We'll think about it. Definitely those 3. So next we'll do martial arts. And we'll
Arts will be next.
Yeah, and on animals.
I'm looking forward to talking about that.
That is going to be very. I honestly adore this series. It's a shame it's going to be a short-lived one.
We might be able to find someone in Rider, but we don't know.
I was going to say Rider.
Bug. Bye, everybody.
Don't forget to join us on all the things.